Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Another entry here, this one again based on your suggestions. This one I have seen suggested before in the past, multiple times in fact, and I just never really got around to it because looking outside, to me it just looked like the tails of a regular monkey. Like whatever the encounters were, it just seemed like it wasn't really that fantastical. But once I took a little bit more of a peek into it this go around, I saw that there were actually some really interesting encounters to talk about. And that's what basically sold me on talking it and sharing with it you here. This particular creature, it's another one of those things where it seems like it's not really a cryptid. It's more along the lines of an animal of sorts that is just a natural byproduct of nature itself. It just hasn't really been encountered. So yet again, it's another one of those things where it's not something that has, let's say, like 4 eyes bugging out somewhere, or multiple legs in different areas, like some of the usual cryptids we talk about. But no, just something that it's in nature that hasn't really been discovered yet, in the sense that it's been analyzed and photographed and evidence gathered to the point that it's an actual species. But it does have a very unique name, which definitely stands out, and it has to do with the cryptid known as the devil monkey, which you're looking at a picture of here. And the tales that are tied to this creature and the encounters with it, they are horrible. They are horrendous. One can imagine something like this chasing you or coming straight at you, even when, apparently, according to the tales, when you're in a car. This is a creature that is not to be messed with. It has extreme encounters with people, dangerous encounters. Not only that, but also apparently with animals too. So I'm going to talk about that here in a few minutes. First off, what is it exactly? Just as I mentioned, it seems to be like a long lost, undiscovered form of monkey or some kind of primate of sorts that has the distinction of living here in the United States. In particular, it seems to have a fondness for wooded areas in Arizona, as well as areas of the desert in New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado. So it has been reported, and sightings have been linked to this creature in all across those locations. It seems like, though, its most favorite area is the areas near Flagstaff, Arizona, which I have been to in the past once. So it was quite fascinating to have been there, not knowing any of this information beforehand, and not realizing that it's actually a location that this creature is most, I guess, sighted at. So if you happen to be near Flagstaff, Arizona, to be on the lookout for something like this in the future. Now, as far as what it is exactly, it seems to be most likely a baboon creature of some sort. There's probably like 75% there. And the reason why I mention it is because it does have its own unique characteristics that separate it from the baboon, the ones that we know of. For starters, it seems to be much larger than your average baboon, because people have described it as being as tall as 4 or 5 feet. So that's much larger than your average baboon. And then in some cases, it seems to reach a height of 7 feet as well. And then also, unlike a baboon, this particular creature has been described as perfectly walking on its hind legs. So it has no issues with walking essentially like a human being, and in some cases running like a human being. But it can also do multiple forms of running. It'll run exactly like a dog would on all 4 legs as well. So it has the unique distinction of being able to, I guess, switch between those 2 forms altogether. As far as its look, it has a pretty hairy, I guess, set of fur covering it entirely. Some people have reported it being short-haired, others being much longer-haired. It seems to actually also have been described, and this is probably what's considered its most unique feature, it has some very strong muscular legs, almost to the point that it's been confused as being a kangaroo in the far distance. I was reading this throughout several websites, and I was fascinated to see that multiple people were stating this. Apparently, if you see this creature, this devil monkey, from a distance, its legs are so thick and so powerful that when it's resting let's say, upright on its legs, it looks actually like a kangaroo. And people presumably think it is and think to themselves, what the hell is a kangaroo doing over here in the US? And then when they see this thing in action, when it actually starts running or it starts sprinting, that's when they realize that no, they are not looking at a kangaroo. Yet its hind legs definitely make it look as such. Those legs, by the way, come into some very key areas because it can use those legs to run really, really fast. People have reported stating that it moves at lightning speed and that it's able to leap across certain fields very great distances, up to 20 feet, in fact, at each jumping point. That is a huge amount of distance that this thing can cover. So one can imagine, again, that when this thing is on the hunt, and let's say it finds its particular prey, it absolutely can reach its prey very quickly. It's a great predator, in other words. There's also been some distinctions. People have confused it or seen it and thought to themselves, this could actually be a Bigfoot of some sort or something involving even the chupacabra as well, because those, at least with regards to chupacabra part, it has those large canines right in front of its teeth. Right in front of its mouth. It makes up most of its teeth, those canines, and when people see it from a distance, they might think to themselves, especially with the short snout, that it looks like almost like a chupacabra. It also, regarding its snout too, it has the snout more along the lines of a dog, so it's not like the elongated ones of, say, the baboons, but rather the dogs, at least the shorter snouted dogs. So that's another key distinction as well. And then also, it seems to have three-toed, razor-like clawed feet, tiny ears, and then in some cases people report it having like a bushy tail of some sort. So again, further differentiating it from your average baboon. So taking all this into consideration, it could, like I mentioned earlier, it could just be a different form of a monkey or a primate, something that we just haven't seen really and have been able to analyze. But for all intents and purposes, it could be just another form of a creature there in nature. Now, as far as the actual encounters, this is where it gets pretty freaky. I mean, this is some crazy stuff. The earliest known encounters have to do in Tennessee. It's 1934, in fact, is the year, so it's not too far back, but it is a couple of decades or so. There, eyewitnesses, and this was apparently published in the papers there in Tennessee, stated that they saw a mysterious beast of some sort that could leap across those fields, jump at distances about 20 feet or so, and this is where people were started to think that whatever this thing is, it closely resembles a kangaroo because of those aforementioned very thick muscular legs. So that was the first set of encounters that people had. Another encounter, and this one is considered more the official one because of the great detail that's associated with it. This one occurred in 1959. There was a couple, last names were void, apparently that they didn't give their first names. They stated that they were driving through the mountains. They were there in a place called Saltville, Virginia, and they were just there driving as normal as they could when all of a sudden a ape-like beast, I don't know if it leapt onto their car or if it tracked their car altogether. If either way, it shows the type of agility that this thing has, because if either A, it leapt onto its car, then it has perfect timing considering the speed that the car was going, or B, if it was actually tracking alongside the car and then leapt onto it, it shows that it can reach speeds pretty much that match those of a car. But in either case, it attacked their car, and when it was doing so, it left 3 scratch marks right on the vehicle, and those that's supposedly evidence of the encounter of this devil monkey. There was a daughter there as well inside the car. Her name was Pauline. She was the one that apparently described in most detail what this creature was. These are her words exactly. She said, "It had light, taffy-colored hair with a white blaze down its neck and underbelly, and it stood on 2 large, well-muscled back legs, and then it has shorter front legs or arms. And then she also stated that there was a separate encounter that occurred in and around that area, not just to them, but it was also in that Saltville area there in Virginia. She said that later on, two nurses, and this is her words exactly, several days after this incident, two nurses from the Saltville area were driving home from work one morning and were attacked by an unknown creature who ripped the convertible top from their car. Crazy stuff. I mean, again, another instance of a creature, in this case the devil monkey, actively and purposely attacking prey, not just, let's say, unarmed prey, but actually within a car itself, which could be considered a dangerous vehicle of some sort, at least in terms of the damage it could cause to the monkey. But there it is, actively attacking it, and then ripping off the convertible as well. These nurses, who were described, of course, as being completely frightened of the experience, were unharmed. So it either goes to show that the devil monkey, the one that did this particular attack, it either gave up quickly, or it saw that once the situation wasn't necessarily going in its favor, then it decided to move on elsewhere. So those are some of the encounters with them. So much so that there's been a cryptozoologist and an author by the name of Lauren Coleman. They went ahead and they investigated. Lauren investigated some of the recent, back in the 70s, some of the more recent attacks, especially on the livestock, because people were stating that in Albany, Kentucky, they were finding livestock that was slaughtered, and then they were also stating that what they saw, as far as the whatever the creature was that was slaughtering these monkeys, could be tied to the devil monkeys. And here's what he has to say. He was giving an interview to Animal Planet, and this is what he said. He said, "I investigated that case in depth. I interviewed the people who were very sincere in the whole context of devil monkey reports, and it seemed extremely sincere. You have these reports of hairy, monkey-like creatures with tails, very different from Bigfoot." And what I liked about it was, whatever Lauren was mentioning, they stated that these people, they absolutely were very sincere in their encounters, meaning they were telling the truth. There was no reason for them to lie. They weren't making it up and embellishing things to try to gain some publicity, but rather they seemed very, very frightful. And then one of the eyewitnesses described to Lauren stated, "It was the ugliest looking thing I've ever seen. It had the tail like a beaver's, but it's bushy, and that its head bore the face of a dog." So again, matching some of the other characteristics of the devil monkeys stated before. One last encounter. This seems to be the most recent one, but this is also the most controversial one. It has to do with an encounter that actually occurred in Chicago, of all places. So all the locations I mentioned earlier, which seem to have like a flat, western, desert-like terrain. No, this one actually occurred in one of the most urban cities of all, Chicago. Huge metropolitan city, skyscrapers everywhere. So it's fascinating to hear that this occurred there. It was January 12, 2006, and this remains a controversial encounter because the photograph that I'm about to show, it seems a little insincere, but also, if this is so fantastical of a report, why didn't the person leave their name? Because apparently an anonymous witness, again, someone that didn't leave their name at all, claimed that whenever he got home one day, he saw what he discovered a devil-like creature violently attacking his 6-year-old Labrador dog. Now, whatever this thing was, he described it as having an unusual combination of a monkey, wolf, and a devil, with long fangs, a monkey-like tail, and then extremely bright, glowing eyes. And then to his, I guess, shock, I don't know if he was, again, this is what leads to people saying that this could be made up and that this is controversial. Even throughout this encounter, he remained very, very calm, so much so that he was able to reach for the nearest camera and throughout all this melee, snap a picture of what was occurring. And then you're looking at it right now. So obviously the first thing that comes to mind is, that's not a devil monkey, that's a dog. And the glowing eyes just may be just a reflection of, let's say, the camera, the lens itself, the lens flare. He said actually that this flare caused this creature to suddenly stop its attack, and then it sprang up on its hind legs, and then it ran away. but it actually ran straight towards the guy taking the picture because it wanted to get out the same way he came in. So it nearly pushed him over doing so. But at least he was able to, again, quote unquote, capture this creature on image, and that's what you'll see right now. I don't know. It looks like a dog. Everyone else is saying that it's a dog too, and this is a guy that just basically created a tail because of the eyes, and maybe he was trying to see how far it could stretch out. But if anyone has any more information with regards to this that could say things otherwise, that maybe it was for real, it'd be great to hear. But otherwise, I too remain very, very skeptical. I think this is just someone just kind of like pulling our legs with regards to the photograph itself. But yeah, what do you guys think? The devil monkey, or in some cases the devil monkeys, because of people saying there are multiple instances. If anyone has any more information I have not stated here, it'd be great to hear. If anyone has any encounters as well, that'd be awesome to hear too. I was trying to see if there was, say, anything more interesting, let's say in the 2000s or so, but nothing, no, other than that 2006 purported encounter in Chicago. That seems to be it. So, alright, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.